So we'll hear from the applicant. Do you want the lights on or off?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Actually, I think I can see. If we can switch to our PowerPoint, and some of your questions actually we'll be able to put up on the screen so that the public can see what you were just talking about. My name is Bonnie Miskell. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Bonnie Miskell. I'm a land use and zoning attorney. I'm here on behalf of the petitioner, and thank you very much for letting us present this evening. Okay. Oh, good, it works. This is just a large overview of the area east of 95. The green area is the existing Gulfstream Hotel property. The blue area is the area to be rezoned. And as you know, this is the Lake Avenue, Lucerne Avenue commercial corridor. We are on the south side of Lake Avenue. First is to the south of us, Lakeside, and Gulf View, is to the east. Okay, and this is a blow up. And again, the red outlines the overall site that will be the subject of a unity of title. And to answer, I think it may have been the chairman's question, if we record a unity of title, the typical language within the unity of title requires it to be developed and operated and sold as one. So if you ever tried to carve it out, you would have to come back and get that released in some format, which would be difficult to do because, as staff mentioned, this site is going to be reviewed as an overall project. So FARs and setbacks and everything will be treated where the red lines are. So it'll be hard to break it apart. That's why the unity of title is required.
Where the red line goes around
the entire site. That will be the unified. The blue area is what is the subject of the rezoning. The red area, and the blue overlaps the red. The red area is the entire site, which will be the subject of the unity of title at some point. So I'm sorry,
I'm a little slow.
Did I confuse you?
Well,
already.
I'm asking if the blue is going to be unity of title.
The blue
with the red.
It will be incorporated into, yes, it will be part of that unity of title. So essentially what the unity, it'll say, the owner of the property legally described in Exhibit A agrees that the site will be unified for purposes of title and in one fee, and it will be recorded in the public records. And so that unity will include everything within where I'm showing you. It'll be the whole site, so it will be the blue and the red portion. It'll be unified. Okay?
And the alley doesn't present a problem jumping over?
Well, actually, it doesn't really jump over the alley. So the alley runs here down. And obviously, the way that Florida law works is where rights-of-way are concerned, ownership runs typically to the center lines of those rights-of-way unless the whole right-of-way came out from the abutting owner. So the alley runs here, and that would be outside of the unity, or the portion that is not part of the property would be outside the unity. Okay. All right, so just to give you a sense of what's around us for those that may not know, and I'm sure everybody does, we have the golf course catty-cornered, and to the northeast of us, the beach and casino are across the intercoastal to the east. We have Bryant Park immediately east of the site. We have the downtown corridor running along in the Lucerne Lake Avenue, that is the commercial corridor. We have Lakeside Drive to our west, Gulf View to our east. This is first on the south side. This is a depiction of the city's future land use map, and I've been doing this for a very long time, and I'll try not to bore you with land use law, but Lake Worth has done actually a very nice job of planning out from a land use perspective their city. In 1987, the legislature, the state, adopted what was called the Growth Management Act, and that act imposed on cities to incorporate, if they hadn't already, land use plans with land use maps, and they were supposed to be consistent and compliant with Chapter 163 Florida statutes, as well as the state's land use plan. This city used traditional and strong land use principles in assembling and providing their map. And typically, and I won't go too far into this, but maps are looked at from a block perspective, and as you can see, you have a block lot system here. And what the goals of the Growth Management Act are, and land use principles in general, is that you have your greatest intensity along your commercial corridor, your Main Street, and your Main Street happens to be Lake Lucerne. And that's exactly what your map does. The area that is highlighted in pink from Gulfview all the way, actually even west of Federal Highway, is the downtown mixed-use area, which is one of your most intense categories. And just to quote something out of your comprehensive plan, and I'm sorry, I put my glasses on to do it, the downtown mixed-use future land use category is intended to provide for the establishment and expansion of a broad range of office, retail, and commercial uses, including higher intensity commercial within the traditional downtown core. And that's exactly what you see here. Your planners and your city and your visionaries have done exactly what the Growth Management Act encourages them to do, state law, and they've done what their comp plan tells them to do. So we are over here within the DMU, the overall DMU. We're on the south, being on the south side of Lake, west of Gulfview. All right, there's the property, and again, the blue area is the area to be rezoned. The other thing that land use principles do that, again, your plan has done a very good job of, is you start with the greatest intensity and you lessen that intensity as you get away from your corridor. So the brown areas here are multifamily residential. The yellow is a single-family duplex, and then you can't really see it here. Well, this is an example. The pale yellow is your single-family. Now, it is a little unusual to have your intensity but right up to the line of your less intense use. But if you look south in particular, and where we are, you have the most intense area, a little less intense area along First, going down and stepping down to lesser and lesser intensities. It's exactly what the law wants you to do, and the city did a very good job of it. So now this is your zoning map. You have tiers of development rights and maps that apply to the property. This is an excerpt from the city's zoning map. The law also says that your zoning designations have to be consistent with your land use designations, and the city's done a good job with that as well. The DMU, the downtown mixed use land use, ends along First here, and you have mostly the DT. The DT is in pink. As a matter of fact, from Federal Highway, which is over here, more than half of the zoning within the DMU land use is pink, which means it's DT, which is what we're requesting tonight. So here, the entire block is DT. Over by, you'll see where we are. Again, the red is the Gulfstream property, and approximately half of this overall site is already DT. The blue area is the multifamily MF30. So what we're asking to do, like what you see over here, is to make this part of the block all pink, just like this. And there you'll see all these areas that are pink for more than a block. It is uncommon, and typically land use and zoning principles discourage breaking a block mid-block. They encourage you taking the zoning line all the way to the next street, or in some instances, water bodies. So in this case, this break is mid-block, which is not encouraged. It's not a bad thing, but it's typically not encouraged. Normally, zoning principles like the blocks to be broken up by a roadway. In this instance, our request is entirely consistent with zoning law because we are breaking at a right-of-way, and we also have an alley here. So that what will be left in this entire block is MF30 property, and it is segregated from us by this alley, which is typically a right-of-way, which again is very consistent with zoning laws and zoning principles. So our request this evening is to rezone the 0.93 acre property that you see in blue right here from MF30, multifamily residential, with 30 dwelling units to the acre, to the city's downtown zoning category, which is the DT. We were asked to submit, and typically with a zoning request, you don't submit site plans. In fact, there's a lot of case law out there that says that the city commission or the legislative body can't even consider a site plan because you're just approving a category, you're not approving a site plan with this, and in fact, we'll be back to see you for a number of items as we get more specific into the process. But just to give you a sense of what we tried to do here for consistency and compatibility purposes, we tried to match what was around us. So you have the existing Gulfstream Hotel with the proposed addition. You have the Annex Hotel, and by the way, it will be, upon renovation, approximately 87 hotel rooms. And we have an annexed hotel, which the design will match and blend with what's over there, which is also proposed for about 87 rooms. And then we have a 2-story parking garage, and we have retail wrapped along the front of it, because you do have a goal that the ground floor should be habitable, meaning that you're not looking into just an empty parking garage or a carport or something of that magnitude. So this is a concept plan, and we talked about the alley is outside the subject area. This is the alley that we're talking about. I believe this one had been abandoned previously. I'm correct on that one, hasn't it? Or will we be submitting an abandonment? Oh, we'll be submitting an abandonment so that these will be one unified site. Okay, there, the blue area is the area to be rezoned. So you can see how that will fall with our proposed buildings. Historic, and it's a 6-story Gulfstream Hotel.
When you pass the alley, you're making the application to acquire the alley all at the same time? I mean,
well, it will come
and
together.
the site plan is subject to change?
Well, this is a concept plan, and it is subject to change. The alley abandonment will be submitted with all of the other approvals. So you have a conditional use approval, you have a site plan, you have a certificate of appropriateness, and you will also have an abandonment application. So it will come in with the site plan. So if the site plan gets approved, then obviously the abandonment would have to get approved. If the abandonment is not approved, we'd have to modify the site plan in some regards. So we have...
to be addressed later.
And that absolutely will be addressed later. You have the 6-story existing hotel. You have a proposed 1-story addition, so there's a stepping down. You have, okay, let's keep going here. We have a proposed 5-story hotel, also with 87 rooms. A 2-story parking garage with rooftop parking, and proposed retail wrapping the west side of the parking garage, so that the parking garage would not be visible to the rights of way or the neighbors across South Lakeside Drive. This is just kind of a superimposed aerial for you to get a sense of what's around us. And I'm going to go into, with much more specificity, exactly what is around us, and I think that's this slide. To our northwest is the Lake Ave Lofts. It's a 66-foot, 5-story residential building, and that's on the north side of Lake. And it's depicted as number 1 on our aerial. Number 2 is a Dollar General, 27 feet, 1-story commercial building. Number 3 is the Fleur de Lis, if I pronounced that correctly, condo, 60 feet in height, 7 stories. And then we have the golf course and the park, number 4. Number 5 is the Gulfstream, or are the Gulfstream condos, actually 5 and 6. The height ranges from 65 feet to 80 feet. A maximum of 7 stories. Those are existing, and those are the 2, I think someone mentioned earlier, the 2 residential buildings that would be next to our 2-story parking garage. Number 8, which is on the south side of First, we have a 1-story, about 10 feet in height building. And again, when you typically, under zoning principles, the breaks are rights of way, and in this instance, the multifamily category drops down to a single-family duplex category. Number 9 is a 2-story multifamily residential complex, which is very compatible, it's equal to in height what we're proposing for right next to it. 10 and 11, we have 10 is a 2-story residential, the Gold Coast condos, and number 11 is a 5-story building. So just to recap, we have 6 stories here with the existing hotel dropping down to a 1-story addition. These are 7 stories up to 80 feet in height. Across the street, you have 1 and 2 stories, which is next to the 2-story building. This, by the way, is much higher than the 2 stories, so we actually, this one here, just, 6 is 7 stories. I'm sorry, forgive me, I skipped 7. 7 is a 20-foot 2-story. So what we attempted to do is to have a scale that is comparable to what is around us. It's actually a little smaller than 6, but we're 5 here, 5 here. These are 7, and the 2-story buildings are adjacent to a 2-story parking garage. So it's certainly within scale. So in September this year, the City Commission adopted criteria for approving rezonings, and Florida law requires us to demonstrate to you that we're consistent with your land use plan. And we've given you a thick package with all the goals, policies, and objectives that we're consistent with, and I'm not going to go over all of those in detail. Your city has adopted 8 provisions that you must consider in making a recommendation. You're not recommending on the site plan because it's not before you yet. You're not recommending on a certificate of appropriateness yet. It's, again, not before you. This is just a recommendation on the rezoning. So I'm going to go very quickly over the criteria. So the first one, and actually all of these mesh together in some form, but the first one is consistency with the purpose and intent of your comprehensive plan. And again, I explained to you what your DMU stands for. So the land use that we're in is intended to provide for not just the establishment, but the expansion of office, retail, and commercial. You notice it doesn't say residential there, which is interesting because you do have multifamily residential in your DMU. But the purpose of your DMU is really to encourage and expand your commercial core. And that's what we're offering this evening. It also, the approval of the rezoning will also, as an incidental result, will allow and enable expansion and the reopening of the historic Gulf Stream